This is the story of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a 777-200R, was to fly from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing Capital International Airport. The plane departed Kuala Lumpur at 12:41 a.m. local time, and shortly thereafter, it climbed through 35,000 feet where it leveled off. The pilots were in control of the plane, and there were 227 people on board, 222 passengers, and 5 crew members. They had filed a flight plan for their journey of 5 hours and 45 minutes. And for the first hour or so, everything was going according to plan. But at 1:19 a.m., when the plane was over, the South China Sea, 120 nautical miles southwest of the island of Penang, the 777 disappeared from secondary radar, which is the radar that air traffic control uses to track planes. Primary radar, which is the radar that can detect but not track planes, continued to show the plane on its screens, meaning that the plane had turned off its transponder. This is the device that sends out information such as the plane's altitude and location. The last data that it sent out showed the plane maintaining a cruising speed of 449 knots at 34,200 feet. There were no distress calls from the cockpit, and the plane continued to maintain a constant altitude. Air traffic control tried reaching the plane, but they got no reply. At 1:27 a.m., the plane was 161 nautical miles southwest of Vietnam's Cam Ranh International Airport. That's when the Vietnamese authorities took control of the situation and started trying to reach the plane. But once again, there was no response. They then sent up to Su-30s to intercept the plane. Those pilots saw the plane and confirmed that it didn't have any lights on, meaning that the plane did not have its cabin lights turned on. It would make sense for them to turn off the cabin lights if they wanted to avoid detection. This was a cause for concern. These pilots then dropped 2 oil marker buoys into the sea below the plane in an attempt to track its path. But by the time the planes arrived, the plane had vanished. For the next few hours, air traffic controllers kept trying to contact the plane, but there was no answer. At 6:15 a.m., they declared the plane missing. A full-scale search operation was started with ships and planes combing through the waters in the Gulf of Thailand and the southern part of the South China Sea. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the search yielded nothing. The only thing that they found were some debris fields that turned out to be from another plane. It wasn't until 16 months later that they got a break in the case. On July 29, 2015, a man named Nazlan Fota was walking along the beach on Island, which is an overseas territory of France located in the Indian Ocean. That's when he noticed something unusual, a piece of plane debris that looked like it had come from the wing of an aircraft. It was a flaperon, which is the extended part of the wing that helps the plane during takeoff and landing. After seeing news reports of this find, the head of Malaysia's Civil Aviation Authority, Azharuddin Abdul Rahman, said, "We are sending a team of experts to identify the part, and we hope to get it back for further analysis." Officials from the French intervention force based on Reunion also said that they were looking into it. And 3 days later, on August 2, 2015, Malaysia confirmed that the flaperon came from the missing plane. How did they do that? Well, you see, all aircraft components have markings stamped on them. These markings help identify what part it is, where it came from, and where it should be installed on the plane. In this case, the flaperon had the serial number 688, and once they ran that number through their database, they confirmed that it matched the description of the flap for the left hand side of the 777. The fact that it had this marking stamped on the inside of the flap further confirmed that this flap was from Flight 370. But there was still one question that remained. If the plane went down somewhere near the area that they had originally searched, then why was this piece of debris found almost 4,000 kilometers away? To answer that question, the investigators looked at various drift simulations to see where else the flaperon could have come from. They used ocean currents, wind speeds, wave heights, and other variables to accurately predict how the flaperon would have drifted. And sure enough, one of the models showed that the flaperon could have come from the original crash site and drifted all the way to Reunion Island. With this new evidence, they shifted the focus of the search to the new coordinates provided by the simulation. But unfortunately, the bad weather hampered these efforts. It wasn't until 2017 that a larger search effort was made. Fortunately, even that did not yield any results. As of today, the only pieces of debris that have been confirmed to be from the plane are a few pieces of luggage and the flaperon, which is now in a lab in France waiting for further analysis. As for what caused the plane to disappear, well, the truth is that we don't know. We have theories, but we don't know for sure. One of the more popular theories is that the pilot deliberately crashed the plane. This is based on the fact that the plane flew for a considerable amount of time without anyone realizing it, which means that the crew were probably trying to hide the plane from the authorities. But then why would they do that? Was it a terrorist attack? Or was it a murder-suicide? These questions are impossible to answer, and the truth is that we may never know the answers to these questions. There are other theories as well. Some believe that the plane broke up in midair due to some mechanical failure. Others believe that the plane was flying on autopilot and the autopilot turned off, causing the plane to go into a dive and eventually crash into the ocean. But again, these are just theories. We don't know for sure. The disappearance of Flight 370 was one of the most perplexing mysteries of modern times. Even 5 years after the tragedy, we still don't know what happened to the plane. The fact that there are so many unanswered questions makes this case even more disturbing. Why did the plane turn off its transponder? Why did it fly for so long without anyone noticing it? What caused the plane to break up? Why was the debris found so far away from the original crash site? These are just some of the many questions that remain unanswered. But despite the lack of answers, one thing is clear. The people on board Flight 370 did not deserve this fate. They were taken away from their loved ones without warning and without a chance to say goodbye. The families of the victims will never know what happened to their loved ones. And that is a tragedy in itself. What do you think happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight 370? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to watch another video about a missing plane, then I recommend watching the video on the panel that's on your screen right now. Thank you for watching this episode. If you like the videos that I make, do consider liking and subscribing. It'll really help us grow. I will catch you guys next time. Stay safe.